What's up, guys? Stamp, and I'm going to talk to you today about the Crusader. So, um, haven't done a video on the Crusader in a while, as you guys know, and it's probably one of the most underutilized or misutilized classes for newer players. The Crusader can be absolutely OP, and I rank him in my top half because of the amount of versatility that he has. If you're one of those players that really struggles with managing stress, I would highly recommend bringing a Crusader, especially in the ruins, because the Crusaders can really single-handedly eliminate rows 3 and 4 in a matter of 2 turns. That's kind of an overview on where I feel that he excels, but we'll go into this like I always do and break it down the usual way. But the Crusader is really, really good, really versatile, and really can carry your party with their crit on one single combat skill, and most of you probably know what I'm talking about. So when you first start playing the Crusader, a lot of people use it in the front 2 rows because that's its preferred position. I personally feel it excels running in slots 3 and 4, and I'll kind of go through why. But we'll kind of talk about the pros and the cons. So overall, the pros and the cons of the Crusader are that if you bring Holy Lance, they are very mobile. It's very easy to move them around in a party. They pair very, very nicely with other classes that can move around, like the Grave Robber, with the Grave Robber's ability to move backwards, and the forwards even, and the Crusader's ability to move forwards. Any class like that is going to pair very, very well with the Crusader. It pairs extremely well with the Vestal due to the Vestal's camping abilities for religious characters. For that same reason, it does pretty well with the Leper and really plays on the Leper's strengths. So to give you an indication on that and to kind of explain, oh, damn, the Leper sucks. It's kind of bad right now, which we'll go into in another video. But because the Leper really is only slots 1 and 2, and it struggles to hit the back line, and row 3 really, that's the offset that the Crusader can provide. So in my opinion, it pairs really well with the Leper in that sense. So to go back to the cons, I really don't think the Crusader has one. I mean, it's really susceptible to diseases, but I don't consider that a true con of the game. I mean, you're going to get diseases, and I don't really try and overanalyze avoiding them. Its camping skills are probably its biggest downfall in that they're kind of expensive, and they aren't the greatest to support the team. They're okay, but I'd rank them bottom half of camping skills of every hero that's there. But the combat skills are extremely versatile, and you can heal, you can do AoE, you can hit rows 3 and 4 and kill them in one shot. It can stun. I mean, you can do almost everything with the Crusader. So it's a class I would highly recommend for newer players. It doesn't always excel in boss fights, so that may be another con. It just depends on the boss fight. It really, really excels in the ruins. That's where it shines. I mean, the Crusader is just truly kind of OP in the ruins with the amount of undead that you face. On the Necro fight, again, it's pretty OP if you run it in the right slot. I mean, there's a lot to it, so I'll kind of get down to the breakdown now. So overall, let's look at the combat skills. So your typical Smite, which is slots 1 and 2, it's kind of a low crit mod. The accuracy base is average, but if you look there, the damage versus the Unholy is really strong. So just running in slot 2 and using it as a tank, pretty good. Then you go to AoE. This AoE it's situational, but it does allow you that if you have somebody that only has a few hit points in the front 2 rows, you can die and still do damage to somebody else and not feel like you wasted a turn. From there we go to the stun, which is a typical stun, I would say. Low crit mod, 139% base, pretty average overall. Will do a little bit of damage, but not much. The Bulwark of Faith, which I typically don't carry because I don't utilize him as a tank, is okay. You do get Torch from it. So, if you forgot torches, there's 2 abilities that the Crusader gets that allows you to use torches to kind of minimize some of your stress. That's this one, and then Inspiring Cry. I don't really carry the Prot because I am not the guy that goes through and buffs and tries to extend the fight. I just try to damage the monsters and get it over with. You have the Battle Heal, which is pretty good considering that it's not a true healer class. It's a little bit better, in my opinion, than the bandage that the Arbalist gets. It's probably better than the Plague Doctor unless somebody happens to get Blight. I feel it's better than the Antiquarian, really, if you look at just straight points, unless you're going to trinket for it. It's pretty good. Again, I don't typically use it because I bring a Vestal. But if you were to run a short dungeon and you wanted to try to DPS through it, the Crusader would be an option to run in slot 4, to run your Holy Lance and then use it to heal when you got in let's say, slot 2. So that's an option there. One of the minuses of this is that it doesn't work in slot 3 or 4 when you'd be running it towards the rear. Then you have Holy Lance, which is the backbone of this character. So the Holy Lance essentially moves you forward 1. It has a pretty high crit mod in 7%, and then it also gives the OP ability that it damages Unholy for 35%, pretty much additional. So if you start the Crusader in slot, let's say you start him in slot 4, it can Holy Lance this one. If it crits, it's killing that. If it gets a high roll, it's probably killing that anyway. So let's think about the Goblet Throwers in the Ruins. Then he hops to slot 3. So in slot 3, he's going to hit Holy Lance, and let's say he hits the back row here. So on a good result, you're going to eliminate the back 2 rows in 2 turns with only 1 person, which is really overpowered. Extremely strong if you run it from slot 4. Most people prefer to run it in slot 3 and bring 2, I would say 2 utility or not tankish characters, and then leave it in the slot 1 to tank out or damage the mobs left in the front row. I personally think it's best to run it in slot 4, hop, slot 3, hop, and then keep it in slot 2 to do smite or the AoE to finish off the other characters. Now there's going to be times where you may already eliminate the 3rd row or 4th row and you can't Holy Lance forward. In that case, what you can do is use the Inspiring Cry, because a lot of these other abilities here, actually none of the other abilities are usable if there isn't somebody in that slot 3 or 4 to attack. So you really want to leave those slots for the Crusader if you can help it. But if you can't, you get a heal, you get minus stress, and you get Torch with Inspiring Cry, which is also really strong. So that kind of goes over the combat skills. My recommended setup that I like to do is right here. I do tend to change out this for this depending on the dungeon, or this for this depending on the status of my heroes. So moving on. Moving on to Quirks. So the Quirks, if you run it like I do, where you really are going after the back row, favor heavy crit, heavy damage. So Slugger, Precise Striker, On Guard isn't bad, but not necessarily what you want to use. I would say Precise Striker, Slugger, and Deadly are probably the top 3 that I would recommend. If you're going to favor heavy crit, like balls deep, just going for attacking, only trying to eliminate the 3rd and 4th row, really going for high crit, high damage, which is my recommendation. Otherwise, some other things you could do, you could run it prot, you could pick up hard skin, run it protty, and kind of run it like a tank, but I think it really excels by attacking from slots 3 and 4 with high damage, high crit. So with that comes my trinket recommendations: Surgical Gloves and Ancestor's Pen. The move resist really doesn't matter, because if you do get moved to the back, you can hop, and it's actually going to do better for you if it's early on or you get surprised. If it's late or you get moved to the front, it's no big deal. If it's late in the fight, you'd have to pop Inspire and Cry if you do get shuffled. The debuff resist really isn't that big of a deal. The Ancestor's Pen, it's pretty much a no-brainer in my opinion because of the crit and the extra damage, but anything that gives you crit and damage I think would be a perfect fit. When it comes to the camping skills, it kind of underwhelming. none of these really are that great. Stand Tall is too expensive to really validate its cost. Hopefully you don't have anybody getting mortality debuffs. If you do, I guess it's worth it, but your characters really shouldn't be getting that once you get to the point of managing it. So, in my opinion, you ignore this. You ignore Unshakable Leader. It's too expensive for only 4 battles of minus 25% stress. Unless you know you're going to go into a really stress-heavy fight. Most of the time you don't. Pep Talk, same thing. I rarely recommend that. The Zealous Speech is okay, but again, it's kind of expensive, which is why I rate his camping skills kind of low. Zealous Vigil is probably one of the best ones that he has. And the reason I say that is you guys have seen my stuff where I really prefer to camp at the end of a fight, at the last possible building. And then if I've camped and I've got my stress down to 0 and I can just roll that party right back into another dungeon, that's fantastic. But if I get surprised or woken up, then all the work I just did is for naught. So Zealous Vigil is why I would recommend that. That's why I carry it. And then just take Wound Care and Encourage. Last couple things, looking at diseases, which we typically do. Rabies is worth it, in my opinion, if you get it. Main reason why is the additional damage, and he really doesn't suffer from too much from accuracy penalties. If you do want to carry rabies, you probably want to look at possibly making sure you have surgical gloves, because the +5 accuracy can help make up for the amount of misses you're going to get. So that's it. So I would highly recommend Crusader for newer players. It's awesome. It's really, I think, underutilized and underappreciated, and a great character to help newer players manage the back 2 lines. So that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. If you catch me on Twitch, I'm doing my push for 2 million gold. I just passed, you can see there, just almost to 1.1 million. And I'll be doing that over the next couple weeks until I hit 2 million gold. And then the objective is really to just try and set a record, I guess. So check me out on Twitch. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button if you liked the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.